All right, guys, welcome back to Of Stone and Clay, episode 132. Today we have our dearest, Britney Holman.
Dearest.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Yeah. Britney is a singer-songwriter, member of multiple bands, right? You are, how many bands are you currently
We're
in?
in all the projects.
Yeah.
I have my solo band, my solo project, Iris.
Mm-hmm.
And
Did you steal that from the Goo Goo Dolls?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
No, actually, I was living in Nashville and I was trying to come up with my stage name.
Mm-hmm.
And I started thinking of my family. My grandma and all of her sisters are named after flowers. And so are my aunts.
I thought you were going to say parts of the eye.
Yeah, parts of the eye.
Okay.
The pupil, grandma pupil. No, they're all named after flowers. And so I was like, oh, Iris. I actually have an aunt named Iris.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized it was the Tennessee state flower.
Oh,
I was like,
perfect.
This is perfect. And then I studied a little more about it and realized that it's the Greek goddess who takes messages from God and delivers them to the people.
Oh, nice.
And I thought, what better name for a songwriter who's a messenger?
You're like, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
So that's kind of how I came up with that name.
Okay.
And then the band Cora, just a project me and some of my best friends got together and started recording. And
then they abandoned you.
Yeah. And then they all moved.
Okay.
I mean, we're talking like Switzerland. They're not close.
Okay.
But we're always like, hey, when is everybody going to be in town? Let's record something.
Okay, yeah. So do you have anything recorded with them?
Yeah, Cora?
Yeah.
Yes,
okay,
we do.
Cool.
We have an album that's out.
Oh, nice.
And then I'm in The King Will Come.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then were you like part of this he and she, or were you just featured on a lot of their songs?
Oh, hey, he did his homework, everybody.
Yeah, I did a deep dive.
You did a deep dive. So, you know how that project came about was I was in Nashville doing my thing, doing the hustle.
Yeah.
I speak Spanish. I grew up do like Spanish immersion in elementary school, and then I served a mission in South America, and so I had this idea that I was going to do a Spanish pop album.
Okay.
This is no joke.
Okay.
And so the producer I was working with, I was writing for this project. And so I was writing with one of my friends in Nashville, Steven Estrada. And we wrote this fun, like happy sunny day song. I sent it to him and he was like, hold up. Can you do 15 more of these?
Oh, really?
Because like he works for Warner Chappell Music Group and for TV and film music.
Okay, yeah.
And so we busted out 15 more songs. The album did great for Warner Chappell. And since then we've done another project. And so we didn't name ourselves. It's kind of like you have these song babies and you release them and then they gave the project a name and the group a name. And
so was
purposes.
That just you and another guy?
Yeah, me and Steven Estrada.
Okay, so you were the she.
Yeah. I think so, yes.
And isn't there, because there's a band, he is we?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
there's a band She and Him.
Yeah, there's a band She and Him.
Yes.
But She and Him, I think, used to be like a very close variation. It was like I don't know. But a lot of pronouns.
Yes. And I'm part of it.
Right.
Yeah, I did not name that band.
This predated the pronoun craze.
Yeah.
So it would have been a very popular band name now.
We should maybe rename that.
Yeah. Tell me about this Nashville journey. I feel like so many songwriters just moved to Nashville and I don't really know what they do there. Yeah.
Neither do we.
Okay, good.
Like starving student to starving musician.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I grew up here. I went to BYU, graduated, and I met my friend Tiffany Peterson. She was in my same major, broadcast journalism, and she said, when I graduate, I'm going to move to Nashville.
Yeah.
And I thought, I want to move to Nashville.
Yeah.
I grew up doing music. I loved writing my own song. My minor was music. And so, I just always wanted to do music. And so in my classes at BYU, I was learning about how they're songwriters. I assumed that all the singers wrote their own songs.
Okay, yeah.
Right? But they're songwriters and it's a job.
Right,
so
right.
I was like, oh. And so as I just learned more about the music business, I was so attracted to that, and I wanted to do music. And so she said, I'm moving to Nashville, and I was like, I want to move with you. And so we moved together and we lived right downtown Nashville, you know, hustled, found a job. We're like serving at Chili's. And I mean, part of that journey is there's a really special energy in Nashville. Like if I could describe it, it's just this creative energy, and it's very collaborative. And so in Nashville, they're known for their writers round. It's like a lot of original music. And so you'll have 3 or 4 writers on the stage, and each person takes their turn and tells the story of their song and plays it. And so you're kind of hitting all these writers rounds. You're meeting people, and just start making connections and start approaching people. Like, I really like your lyrics. Do you want to write together? Or I really like your guitar skills. You want to write together? So it's interesting because some people are lyricists and they don't really do the music part.
Right.
But you start collaborating, and
you kind of did both.
Yeah. So I grew up playing piano and then picked up guitar and ukulele. And,
Nice.
So it's just a really cool place to grow, like in your craft.
So now do you still do a lot of just songwriting, like outside of your own projects?
Yeah. So I still am involved in the TV and film world, writing and selling songs to TV and film. And writing for my own projects, collaborating with other people. Just kind of open.
Nice. So are you just pumping out songs and sending them to people, or are people like, hey, for this show, we want a song kind of like this? How does that work?
So it's both. Like you can be approached, right, for a specific, like, one-off song. But a lot of times I'm writing songs and pitching them to libraries, music libraries.
Nice. Is that wildly brutal and difficult? Or do you just kind of have your foot in the door and have contacts already?
Yeah, I feel like I am lucky enough to know who to pitch them to. But it is interesting. It's not like everything's going to be picked up. You know?
I'm sure it's really hard as like if you have no songs sort of published ever, to just, even if you're an amazing songwriter, to just get started, it's probably kind of hard, right?
Yeah. And again, I think that's where it's helpful, is finding people to collaborate with. Like, maybe they're really good at engineering. And you're a great singer, and you know, so it makes sense. Like 2 heads are better than one. You know, and I always say, work in your flame and not in your wax.
Right.
Like, do what you're good at.
Yeah. You know, for me, like, I met Tommy, my producer, who you know intimately, and you know, people ask me all the time, like, for podcasting advice, and I'm like, meet Tommy. Like, that, you know, for me, that was such a big thing, and I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't met him. You know, like, obviously there's other producers out there, but I didn't know how to go meet producers. You know? Yeah,
it feels super daunting when you first, like, enter a world you want to be a part of. But I think the important part is enter. Right? Start having conversations with people. Start saying you want to write songs. Start saying you want to do podcasts. And it's just interesting to see who knows who.
I mean, it, you know, my world was pretty small. You know, it was like one of my best friends that I lived with, you know, who's in King Will Come. Spence, our dear Spen.
We love you.
You know, I was just hanging out with him and going to King Will Come events. And then, like, Tommy was there doing videography stuff. And then Spence is like, hey, you should talk to him. Like, I think he does podcast stuff. And I talked to him.
That's how that all started.
That's how it all started. And, like, it was not good timing when I first started talking to him. He kind of blew me off, and respectfully. But, you know, he was just busy, and I don't think it was the right time. And then we reconnected like 6 months later, and it was just the time. But you're so right. It was like I had to sort of put out there, like, I'm trying to podcast. I'm trying to find a producer. I'm trying to find a studio, whatever. And then it happened.
But even starting to do it on your own, I think people like to jump on a on a train that's moving.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing. And Tommy was like, I wouldn't have worked with you, but you already had 68 episodes, even though they were very low quality as far as audio and video and stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, I had to start somewhere.
Yeah. Like you were proving your commitment and that you were taking it seriously by just figuring it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. It was great. Yeah, it's funny. I think me and you have probably 1 million mutual friends, but this is our time now. This is our time.
I'm here for it.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about friendship.
Great.
Yeah. For you, like, how important is friendship? How important is having really close friends in your corner?
I mean, I feel like friendships, relationships bring like the magic to life.
Yeah.
Bring like the sparkle and the magic to life.
Yeah.
It's interesting though, because that kind of changes. I feel like when you're young, it's like we're hanging out with a big group, right? And we're like migrating in big groups, and which is so important. And then I think like there's some key things to friendship, right? Like proximity. If you're in the same space and you see each other a lot, then that helps you develop friendships. And as you get older, and also where you are in life, like we often see our friends get married. And then I've
never seen that.
Everybody I know is married. Just kidding. But me.
I know kids that are married. Yeah.
Oh, so our friends get married. I'm always like, now they're dead to us, because I mean, it's just a shift in life. And so I think as people, or they move into a different career and kind of, get into that phase of life. So I think a lot of times our friends come from proximity, where we are in life, and maybe even energy.
Yeah.
And I was reading the Let Them book, and she talks about this friendship situation. And it actually made me feel so much better, because I think as we get older, proximity, like we get into our careers and we're not seeing the same people every day. You know what I mean? When people are getting married and they're moving and they're chasing careers and they're doing different things. And so naturally these friendships might not be as close.
Yeah.
And so, because there's just a different phase. Yeah.
Suddenly they don't want to get burritos at 2 a.m.
No, you call me if you want a burrito at 2 a.m.
Good to know. Yeah.
But I mean, the lifestyles just change. And
I mean,
so you appreciate these friendships that you have, because it becomes, you have like tight friendships versus like, I have a lot of friends.
Yeah. It's interesting how you have sort of these different iterations of friend groups, and every several years, or every, people say every like 7 years, you have fully new friend groups.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah.
But then you have some that just sort of stand the test of time, what for you are like maybe some pillars of a true deep friend that's like on a whole other echelon for you?
That's a great question. I was going to say, even though we do have our friends that move on to different phases, like a lot of them, you get back together, it's like nothing has changed, right? Yeah. Like you do still have this love and connection, but you maybe just don't touch base as much as you used to. So the pillars of friendship, is that what you asked? Yeah,
just a few things that for you that sort of separate like a good friend from like a freaking like titan of friendship. Yeah.
I mean, I do think it's proximity. Part of it is like spending time together. you know, like friends that are the closest, like whatever is going on in life, we make time for each other.
Right. And,
like a listening ear.
Yeah.
I think
That's
like
huge.
the friends the people you feel safe with, that's huge for me.
Yeah.
It's feeling safe with, and that you can share like what is actually going on in life. Yeah,
you can go way past the surface with them.
Right.
Yeah. Which is all I'm really interested in. You know?
Yeah.
I think I sometimes struggle with acquaintances because I'm like, I don't really care like how your work week was.
Yeah.
I just want to get to the the meat and potatoes of things. So yeah, I want to read this quote to you. I want to hear your thoughts. This is by C. Raymond Barron, and he said, "A friend is someone who knows the song in your heart and can sing it back to you when you have forgotten the words."
I love that.
Isn't that sweet?
Being a musician, that was like, that hits. I like it.
Yeah, I think for me, I think about some of my friends, and that's exactly what they do. They sort of can remind you how beautiful you are and can remind you how special you are because they're around you all the time. They see your weaknesses. They see the things that you're maybe ashamed of or you're insecure about, and they love you for those things. And so I feel like it's imperative to have those kind of people around because they can remind you when you're down that like you're actually an amazing human, you know?
Yeah. That even though friends, even though this, you know, they're going to love you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even like remind you who you are.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about relationships, dating, these things. Have you been in a lot of relationships, serious relationships in your life?
Sure.
It's
been a long road.
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah. Have you been married?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that a while ago?
Yes.
Yeah. Has it been blotted out from your memory?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. How long were you guys married?
2.5 years.
Okay. Was it a violent separation emotionally?
It actually wasn't.
Really?
I mean, I wouldn't say violent. I think there was like, I think I just felt in the end, I just came to like acceptance.
How did you
this is how I am.
Yeah.
This is how I'm experiencing things. This is how he is. This is how he's experiencing things. This is what I want. This is what he wants.
Yeah.
And it's not working.
Right.
And I accept it. Like,
did it take you a while to get there?
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think part of that was because I just like fighting for, you know, to keep it together. Like you want it to work. And nobody gets married thinking you're going to get divorced.
Yeah.
And just feel like I'm a really committed person.
Yeah.
But then when you, like, one of the hardest lessons about marriage and relationships is that you can do all the things and want all the things, and it doesn't matter if the other person doesn't meet you.
Right.
Like, it's not 100% up to you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. The other person still has their free agency.
Totally.
And yeah. So, yeah, how did you arrive at that peace? Because I feel like sometimes that's the hardest part when you really love somebody, but you're just going in different directions, or you ultimately just want different things. Yeah.
I mean, I think it was just the piece of just accepting like what this is and seeing things for what they were, and then also realizing what I really wanted and what I could really give. And wasn't like feeling that was reciprocated.
Yeah.
But I think part of that journey was the but if not prayer, which is, Heavenly Father, help this situation be like this, and this person be like this, and be on the same page and all the things, but if not, help me to let go.
Yeah. That's a hard prayer sometimes.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's like coming to the altar of like,
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember with my last relationship, I kind of, when it ended, the prayer I had in my heart was sort of this prayer of desperation.
Mm-hmm.
It was sort of like, I need her back. Like, let's fix this,
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized that I was just approaching it the wrong way. And the prayer became like, let's just, like, I just want her to be happy and I want me to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, my goal and my fantasy is for us to be happy together,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not what's happening. And so I just want her to be happy, But it's funny, it sounds so simple, but it was such a hard place for me to even get to.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was just sort of in a place of emotional desperation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like the image that you, like the hope of what you thought it was,
Mm-hmm.
the image you have of what it could be.
That's sometimes one of the worst parts of a breakup.
Yeah. It's like a death.
Yeah.
It's like,
Excuse me.
death.
Yeah.
You're like just having to.
You're good.
Okay. Just move on from that and then rebuild.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't what you had planned. That
Right.
wasn't, what the image that you had of how your life would go. And
Yeah.
it's interesting how life can happen, because I think I come from a broken home. My
Mhm.
parents got divorced when I was 8.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I read all the books and I took these relationship classes, and I'm like, one thing I am not doing.
Yeah.
I am not getting divorced.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'm not doing.
Right.
Yeah.
And
so in that whole process of meeting someone, you ask all the questions, you do all the things, you read books together. Yeah. You're like, this is for sure. Yeah. Gonna be great.
You guys must have missed a book.
Yeah. There were some things we missed.
Yeah.
And so it was living my nightmare.
Yeah.
Like literally, this is one thing I was never going to do.
Right.
But there's nothing I can do.
I
felt like nothing I could
because
do
of
to
that,
change
was
it.
there some shame you carried with you?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you get over that?
Just surround yourself with people who love you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people who knew me just knew.
Right.
Knew they knew the situation.
Mm-hmm.
They knew what I wanted. They knew the heartbreak.
Yeah.
They knew that I truly felt like I did everything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I feel like getting over a breakup, it's hard enough because, like you said, it feels like there's all these deaths. There's the death of like the future and the hope that existed. There's the death of the person that's gone now. And then there's sort of the death of who you were when you were with them.
Yeah.
And then when you compound that.
It's a great morning.
Yeah, it is. It's violent. But then when you compound it with some unnecessary shame that you're feeling, then it feels like it's impossible to get over somebody. Or even if you feel like I'm kind of over them, but I still am not in a good place. I'm still not moved on. It's like, yeah, how could you if you're mourning all these things and then you're carrying all this weight of shame? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like added pain on added pain on added pain.
Yeah.
And good luck.
Right. And congratulations.
Yeah.
Was in hindsight, has that been your most difficult breakup?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it like re-entering the dating market after that? Did it take you a while to?
That's an interesting question. In some ways I felt like I know how to do this. I know how to date.
Right.
It was the marriage thing.
Yeah. But did you feel like for a while you were really broken and so it was hard to re-enter that space again? Or were you able to, because you had come to accept it so much, you felt like you healed faster?
I felt by that time, I felt really relieved and I felt really hopeful. and almost excited to rebuild.
Gosh, this is beautiful.
And but there was still suffering. I feel like I suffered in silence. Because when you have a partner and you're married, you don't go around being like, man, this is really is painful. Is this how this is supposed to be? You know? Like, I think it took me a while to be like, okay, maybe this isn't. The bad day went from a bad month to a bad 3 months. And now I'm wondering.
Now I'm experiencing a bad life.
Yeah, now this is just bad.
Yeah.
So I think I went through that whole mourning process in it. And so that grief, the denial, the grief, the whatever. So by that time, I was in the acceptance place. And I feel like I could make a really great decision being in that space. I didn't want to leave like mad and angry and emotional. I wanted to play it out as much as I could. And so I feel like I played it out. I did everything and was like, okay, this is not, I felt like also a spiritual release, because in a marriage, there's a commitment to not only for me, there wasn't a commitment just to my spouse. It was also to God.
Yeah.
And so it was like looking up and to the side, like, are we, what do you think about this, God? You know?
Yeah.
And so it was so fascinating to feel like a spiritual release of like, you can go
You're
now.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And I truly believe that it was my perfect journey, that there were lessons for both of us in growth, and like what I needed. I think for me, one of the lessons learned was, I'm not in this world to like have this perfect life. It's to have all the experiences I need to be in order to be like the Savior.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really beautiful. It's so hard to get to that place, because you grow up and you just sort of assume life will kind of be this way. You'll get married and you'll have kids and your job will be whatever you want it to be. And you'll have a house that is like the house that you want, and you'll live exactly where you want to live.
Yes.
I remember growing up, people would ask sometimes like, where do you want to live when you grow up? And, some people would be like, oh, I want to live by the beach, or I want to live on the East Coast. And it's funny, even now, as, I just feel like I'm barely becoming an adult, but
welcome.
Thank you. I feel like I'm just barely just past puberty, and I'm sneaking into adulthood, ever so surreptitiously. But even now, when people are like, ask me like where I want to be long term, I'm like, I don't know. There's so many variables.
Yeah.
It depends on 100 different things, and I just couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I could tell you where I think the best climate is, or like for me, I mostly just am interested in living near my friends and family.
Did you grow up here?
But I moved around a lot. I was born in Seattle.
Oh, cool.
Lived in Vegas and Phoenix growing up, and then moved to Utah when I was 14.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. But
so your family's here now?
Yeah, mostly. I have one sister in Texas and one sister in Eagle Mountain, and then my parents in the boondocks a couple hours away.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Are you in the middle by chance?
I am by chance, yeah.
Because I'm in the middle of two boys.
Really?
Yeah.
Congrats. Yeah, we're reversed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have 4 stepsisters now.
Oh, wow, that's a bundle.
It's a bundle. There's 7 of us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I grew up in the middle of 2 boys. And then my mom got remarried when I was 17.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you really close with your steps?
I think we do a great job.
Yeah.
I don't think we're like super tight, but yeah, there's like,
because you were almost
love
out of the house and stuff.
Yeah. Like we didn't live together. So there's just love and playfulness. And yeah. I think it's good.
Let me ask you a really hard question that I don't ever ask people.
Okay.
What's it like? Because this feels almost like a taboo question, but I think you're a person that I can talk to about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What's it like to be a woman and be getting older and being like, I want to get married. I want to have kids. And so there is an extra level of what for me would feel like maybe desperation or urgency. How do you not let that affect your dating life and your decisions, especially if you really, really want to have kids and you're getting older?
Yeah. So when on my first date, I'm like, do you want to have kids tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yeah.
You don't? Okay, next.
Okay.
No.
Are you ready? Are you
kids tomorrow? Great.
Yeah. You have a chart.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a great question. I just think I'm at peace with it.
Mm-hmm.
I totally get that feeling of urgency.
Mm-hmm.
Like I understand that. I just think, I don't know, like I think the Lord has just blessed me with this. I just am at peace with it.
Yeah.
Like I just trust him.
Mm.
I think that is what I have learned through my life. Like I have this plan. This is how it's going to go.
Yeah.
And then it does it.
Right.
And I'm like, okay. But it's perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
I trust you.
Right.
And so I think I have just come to like a place of trust. Do I want those things? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I always plan on those things? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think that there has been like a mourning of that in itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like it's something you've had to sort of grieve along the way in different stages of your life?
I guess I'd feel like it's not over yet.
Yeah.
So I think I still feel like hopeful.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then I also trust. I realize that might not ever happen.
Yeah.
But I just feel like at peace with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, we got to find a way to bottle your attitude and spread it
and sell it.
And sell it. Yeah. Yeah.
Take
for
a piece
dollar.
of this.
Yeah. No, that's such an evolved stance on things because listen, I'm in a different boat, but you know, getting older as you're dating sucks because, you know, certain windows can close and certain opportunities diminish a little bit, but it's just exponentially worse for a woman, unfortunately. You know?
Yeah. I have moments of great sadness of like, oh, I really like watching my nieces and nephews grow up and like, oh, it'd be so fun to have kids their age. And it just makes me the playful one, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm like the kid.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't want to write it off like I don't feel anything. There's like, you know, it's not the life that I thought.
Yeah.
But I also have come to like peace with it.
Yeah.
I think sometimes too, the hard part is like, I feel like sometimes I've carried my own like sadness about it. And I also carry my parents' sadness about it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's what they wanted for me too.
Yeah.
And they wanted more grandkids or they wanted, you know, and like, I don't know if I don't think they're meaning to do that per se, but it's like, I know.
But yeah, I know
that's what you wanted too.
And you know, it breaks their heart.
Yeah. And so I feel like I'm dealing with it with myself. Plus I'm like taking on this other weight.
Yeah.
Or I could. I think that I recognize that. And so I'm able to be like, oh, I mean, we're just trusting in the plan. And like, you never know. I've had friends who like have been so upset about being single and lived life like kind of sad. Yeah. And then they meet their lover the next day and they get married in the next few months. And I'm like, we just spent all of these years, like
all these great years being sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even in marriage, you're also going to find trial, you know? And so just like being happy with where you are, being grateful for what you do have. And so I think that's just how I approach it. Like, I think I really do I just like live in gratitude. So grateful for all that I do have. So grateful for the things that do show up in my life, for the love. I have an abundance of love in my life. family and friends and just an abundance, you know?
Yeah.
And then I also think like what has taught me so much is death.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just had like a handful of family members pass away in the last few years. And I think death is the greatest teacher.
Yeah.
And I've been reading this book, The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. And there's this chapter on death, and he talks about this, of like how it's the greatest teacher.
Yeah.
Because,
how is it?
Yeah, he says, because, you know, someone can teach about how men and women are equal. How it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, everybody's equal. But until you experience death, right? That death takes the old and the young, it takes the rich and the poor. Then you know. Then it really teaches you about that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, he proposes this idea of like, what if you lived every week like it was your last?
Mm-hmm.
And how would that be different? What conversations would you have?
Yeah.
How would you live your life differently? You know, and I think you would be bolder. I think you'd be more open.
Mm-hmm.
And just appreciate every minute. Like he talks about how if there was somebody in the hospital who knew that they were going to pass in the next few hours and they were just like, please, doctor, like, I just want to see the sky one more time.
Yeah.
I just want to experience that one more time. And if it was raining, they would just want to feel the rain on their face. And we run and hide.
Yeah.
You know? And so, I don't know. I think that just death is the greatest teacher. Like your everyday drive turns into, oh my gosh, look at these snow-capped mountains. They're beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the light hitting the lake.
Yeah.
You just notice.
And
things.
you can't do that when you're like submerged in self-pity.
Yeah.
You know, because I agree with you. I feel like gratitude is like an essential part of my life. It's like what tethers me to happiness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, because if I'm not grateful all the time and thinking about it, my default emotion is probably to be lonely or to fixate on the things that I don't have or the things that I want. And I like what you said earlier. I think happiness and sadness can coexist at all times. Like I can be sad for being alone, but I can be really, really happy for all the things I do have. And so I'm like, what's the utility in fixating on what I don't have? You know, when I'm fixated on the things that I do have, it makes me happy. Right. And so I don't know. I think sometimes we get overly concerned with like wanting to be a realist and wanting to accept everything. But to me, you can fixate on whatever you want. So you might as well fixate on the positive. You know?
Yeah. Whatever you focus on expands.
Yeah, totally.
And not that there isn't room for mourning, right? Like I've mourned all of the losses that I've had in my family, and also gratitude for the lesson that you taught me.
Yeah.
Which is like the wise man knows that death could come at any time. And so we live our life to the fullest.
Yeah.
And we appreciate everything, all the experiences, all of the like hardships. We appreciate it because we're experiencing this life. We're living it to the fullest, you know? And he says in this book, The Untethered Soul, he says something like, you don't have to change your life. You just have to, it doesn't matter what you're doing. It matters how much of you is doing it.
Oh, wow. Just being 100% in on whatever you're doing.
Yeah. So like present with people.
Yeah.
Appreciating this moment with people. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Death
That's
is the greatest teacher.
Yeah, that's great.
He does. Do you want me to share with you a little quote from it?
Please.
I had written it down because I had been. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is the first part. He said, death is the greatest teacher. While someone could remind you of the insignificance of the things that you cling to, death takes them all away in a second. While someone can tell you that you're not your body, death shows you. While people can teach you that men and women of all races are all equal and that there is no difference between the rich and the poor, death instantly makes us all the same. The question is, are you going to wait until that last moment to let death be your teacher?
Yeah, that last bit is a great question to always sort of have in your mind, you know? So do you feel like you do a good job of that now, of sort of just living deeply in the moment and deep within gratitude?
I sure try.
Yeah.
I think that I don't think that we're human, right? It's kind of like we're this like living organism of like, okay, there's pain, and then we like figure that out. And so I still have emotions and feelings, but I do feel like I'm just grateful.
Yeah.
I have so much.
Mm-hmm.
And again, losing a handful of members of my family in all different ways, all different ages.
Like siblings, or what are we talking about here?
My uncle, he took his life a few years ago, and then my grandparents both passed away. And then my 8-year-old cousin who I taught piano lessons to, we had this cute relationship. He passed away from a brain tumor.
Oh gosh.
And then my uncle just passed from cancer. That was like 2 weeks ago.
Oh gosh.
And he was only 59.
Yeah. Like
my mom's youngest sister's husband. And so I think this is like really fresh for me. This is really raw for me.
Yeah.
Of just realizing like
just the preciousness.
Life is short. Yeah.
Yeah. When you're experiencing death around you, and like it's a weird thing when someone close to you passes away, because there is a period of mourning and sadness, but there's some finality to it, you know, and there's hopefully some acceptance that goes along with it. Do you feel like when you're in that period, like, do you like listening to sad music? Do you like watching sad movies? Does that kind of help you move on to the next step? Or like, what's your relationship with that sort of stuff?
That's so interesting, because with almost all of them, I was there when they passed. Like I was able to see them and talk to them, or right before they passed, which I think in all of those situations, you're like, what do I say?
Yeah.
Like, how do I express all of this love I feel for this person and make sure they know it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think for me, it has been really helpful to be around those that are mourning too. That we kind of like get it, together. That's been a beautiful thing, to come together with them and mourn together. And also talk about them. Yeah. And their lives and the fun stories we had together and the fun experiences. I think that's helpful too. Yeah. I don't know if I've listened to like sad music. I think it's mostly just been like grateful for the time we had together and the memories that we have.
Oh, I'll hit a sad playlist hard. I really will.
I was just going to ask you.
Yeah, I think it's
helpful. Yes.
I think for me, it kind of helps me feel a little bit less alone, with certain songs that the lyrics, you're like, oh, that's what I'm feeling. That's like, I didn't really have words for it. I didn't know why maybe I was so sad or why I was so affected, like I remember when my grandma passed away, I was on my way to the funeral, and I was like listening to some song in my car, and the lyrics said, a heart so big God couldn't let it live. And like my grandma was just, the biggest heart in the world. And I just, and who knows what that artist was even talking about, but it was just really comforting in that moment. And there's a weird power to music that I don't fully understand.
I think you said it. I think that connection, like it helps you not feel alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Now that I think about it, yes. I've listened to some sad songs.
Yeah.
And me and my cousins were like sharing different songs that were like, oh, this reminds me of this person. Or there is a magic and a power to heal. Like music helps you heal.
Yeah, it really does. Are you prone to, when you're by yourself ever, of having a truly, truly ugly cry?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would say it doesn't happen a ton.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would prefer to cry not in front of people.
Yeah.
I'm an ugly crier.
Really?
I feel like I get real. In fact,
is there a lot of hyperventilating?
It's like a lot of like high talk,
you know? Really? Okay.
It's like I can't talk.
Yeah.
And then when I do, I do not like to cry in front of people. But it's healthy to cry, everybody. It's healthy.
Right.
Actually, that's interesting because I have heard this, that when you cry, there's like different makeup of your cry, of your sad tears that are healing. Yeah. So it is a healing thing for you to release and to cry.
Yeah. I think you release oxytocin when you do it.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
Should we cry right now?
I'm open to it. Yeah, maybe say something really hurtful to me.
I have felt some tears coming on.
A small welling.
A small welling.
Yeah, that's different though than a full-on ugly cry. It's not as embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have ugly cried.
Yeah, it's different when you have sort of the
Yes. I think, and one of the hardest things when people have passed is when, for me, it was waking up in the morning. It was like every morning I was like, oh yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when my ugly cries would come.
Yeah, I've felt that a lot in breakups too.
Yeah.
Where you're like, there's something about that morning fog.
Why is that?
I just think you wake up,
you're like, oh.
And oftentimes you're coming out of a dream or something, and so for like, who knows how long it actually is? It feels like a minute or two, but it's probably like 8 seconds. But you're just kind of like, where am I? Is it Thursday? Am I?
Yeah.
Am I a Gemini? Am I?
Who am I?
Yeah, like what's my dad's name? And then you're like, oh yeah, my heart got shattered last night. That's too bad.
Wah.
Yeah. I guess I'll go have breakfast.
I feel like we need to write a song about this.
About morning sadness.
Yes. The morning blues.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a thing. You like relive it over again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I think partly because I'm just not a morning person. I'm barely alive. I feel like I get more of the night sads.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. When I'm like in bed, struggling to fall asleep, just mind's racing, that's when the sads come along. Yeah.
It is. It's the times when you're by yourself.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, we can really think about these things.
You know what I like to do that I started doing? And you have to have friends that you feel like you can do this with, but I have friends that I will, when I'm going through a sad bout, I'll just send them a voice message and right in the moment. And it'll be kind of like, hey, I don't need you to respond. I just wanted to reach out and like tell you I'm really struggling. I'm feeling blue. And I don't know, it helps so much because sometimes in those periods you don't want to reach out because you're like, I'm going to ugly cry and I don't want to do that. I don't want to burden anybody. I don't want my mucus to get involved, but I also don't want to be alone right now. And I want to share what I'm feeling so I feel less alone. And so, yeah, I've been doing that on occasion and it's been awesome.
That's such a great idea.
Yeah.
That's such a great idea. And that you have people in your life that you can reach out to and connect to like that.
And most of them, the reason I reach out to them specifically is because I know they're not just waiting on the edge of their seat to like give me advice or tell me how to get through this. They're just there. They're just with me. They're just hearing it. They're just there to be a soft landing place and a place of love. And that's kind of what you need.
Yeah.
You know, like, I think when you really need advice, you seek it, you know, but most of the times you just need somebody to just kind of hold your hand through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I ask my friends, do you want me to jump in the ditch with you or you want me to pull you out?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because sometimes you just like, you start offering like all this advice and you're like, oh, they don't want it.
Right.
They just want to tell me about the thing, you know? And so I think that can be helpful sometimes. I'm like, what is it that you...
Yeah, that's a great question.
I'll pull you out or I'll just jump in and we can grovel.
I'm happy to be in the ditch. Yeah.
But thank you for that reminder of the power of the show up.
Yeah.
Of just being with people. Because I think sometimes it can feel a lot for someone to be like, as I've talked to friends who've had different events that are heartbreaking for them. And I'm like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. Like, what do I even say?
Yeah.
But I'm here.
Yeah.
It just hurts and it just does. But I'm here.
Yeah.
I think sometimes I feel that pressure of like, I gotta say something. I gotta pull them out of here.
Yeah. I remember, this happened, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago, but I had a friend of mine that took his life. And at the time, I hadn't seen him for a year or two, and he had some really hard struggles, but we at one point, like, we had lived together, we had been roommates. And so it was really jolting news and was really, really, really sad. And when I got the news, I just didn't want to be by myself. I just wanted to be with a friend. I didn't necessarily want to like talk it out. I just wanted to be with somebody. And so I called a buddy of mine, and he wasn't even a friend that would be good at talking about it, not great with his emotions.
Yeah.
But I knew he was just down to hang and just be with me. And so, we just went hot tubbing and ate sunflower seeds.
That's amazing.
And that's all I needed.
Yeah.
And I think eventually, like, I remember too, I called my dad, I think maybe that night or the next night, and cried and really talked about it, but it's nice to just, I think more than anything, if you're the friend that's like, I don't know what to say, or like, don't say anything, just be with them, and most of the time, I don't think people are looking for really specific instruction during grief, and when they are, I think they'll come out and ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I love that. That is such a great reminder for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you
just to be there?
What's your inclination when you're really going through stuff? Do you like to be around people? Do you like to isolate for a minute?
I think I'm more isolate. Yeah.
What do you do there in the darkness?
Ugly cry.
Just ugly cry. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think both are helpful. Like you said, it's like you just kind of, you didn't want to process all of it, but you didn't want to be alone. And so you sought out someone that would just be easy to be with and like comforting. And then you talked to your dad and cried it out and talked about it. So I think we're on the same page as far as there's different uses.
Yeah.
For the processing.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, it just brings us back to like friendships and the magic and the gift that they are.
Yeah.
And how, maybe this could be relief to people. Like, you don't have to be everything for one person.
Right.
But just show up how you can.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, luckily, like, you had your person you wanted to cry to. You had a person who you wanted to hang out with.
Yeah.
And so just being able to show up for people.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny when that happened and I called my buddy to go hot tubbing, like I don't think he necessarily was my first choice, but it was like 1 a.m. or something. And I knew he was up and I knew he'd answer my call.
Yeah.
And I knew he'd be down to hang out. Yeah. And I know he felt really bad and probably wished he could have communicated better about it, but that just wasn't where he shined.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That was just what you needed.
How do you deal with, we've been kind of on this topic, but to go a little deeper, how do you deal with loneliness? Because it can be such a sort of a pervasive feeling that maybe it kind of is part and parcel of happiness and sadness coexisting. But yeah, how do you personally deal with maybe a semi-perpetual feeling of loneliness?
Find a baby and hold it.
just go.
You just need a snuggle.
Go find yourself a baby.
Go find yourself a baby.
Yeah. Easier for a woman.
Yeah. That's true.
No, I'll go find my nieces and nephews in a hurry.
Totally. Yeah. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kids for real are like so healing.
They really are.
Their playfulness and their laughter and their like holding babies, playing with kids. I think that's super helpful. And then also calling your friends. And I think connecting though, like on a deeper level when I'm lonely, feels better. But yeah, kids shine, man, in that area.
Yeah, they really do. I think one thing I love about them so much is you see that everything for them is novelty.
Yes.
And it reminds you that was once the case for you. And that you can still recapture those moments if you really dig.
I totally do. Can you think of a time in your life recently where you felt like the awe and wonder of a child? Like looking at something with childlike eyes, experiencing the awe and wonder.
Yeah. Yes. On Tuesday.
Really?
Yeah. But this was, so I have a buddy of mine. I was talking about him earlier before we started recording. He's a weatherman.
Yeah.
And he's on TV every day and he loves the weather with all his heart. And it's funny, we both love going and just exploring like old ghost towns and like cool geological structures. We just like getting out there and seeing new stuff. And so we'll often just be texting and being like, hey, should we go see this? Should we check out this? And, we'll go months at a time without doing anything. And then we'll just decide to get weird and go look for something. And so, a few days ago, we went out just a few hours away and there's this like insane volcanic structure. It's called Paul Bunyan's Woodpile. And it's basically all these like columns of volcanic stone and they're stacked. Wow. It looks like a huge woodpile of stones and it looks like they were like intricately placed, but it's just this weird volcanic thing that I don't understand. But
crazy.
Just being out there and seeing something like that I've never seen and that I don't fully understand, just the beauty and novelty of it was so cool. But something I do, I would say almost on a daily basis, is I get really, really like impressed and enchanted by like sunsets and cloud structures and stuff because they're always different. Even though I've seen a million sunsets, you're like, I've never seen it like this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The beauty of the earth for sure.
Yeah.
It's funny that you bring up sunsets because when I was going through the divorce and feeling this like tremendous mourning, I would say that I generally have a happy disposition, but like just life was really heavy,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
sad for me at that time. And I remember I was driving and there was this like pink sky. Just sunset was so beautiful. And I just like, oh, like made me so happy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like the only thing I felt like that day that brightened my life. But it was like, you know, God just showing that he loves me.
Yeah, a little wink.
A little wink, God wink. Yeah, there is like awe and majesty in the world and nature. I feel like that happened to me a lot too when I was in Europe. I got to travel. The last few years I've traveled a bit and went to Greece and Croatia and London. And
Croatia is like
it's
one of my all-time favorite places.
Yes, yeah. I feel bad saying this, but when we were planning that trip, I was like, who goes to Croatia? Like I didn't really know anything about it. And it was amazing. Yeah. And yeah, like looking at the Mediterranean Sea and like that, the beautiful structures and the history and all these places, I felt like so childlike in this awe and wonder of, gosh, what a cool world. What a beautiful world we live in.
Yeah, there's something about walking down like some old town of Poland or Croatia or something, and you're like, yeah, it's just everything feels new and different and historic. And even if you haven't been to it, like if you go to Cincinnati, you're like, this looks like most American cities, you know? And,
sorry, Cincinnati, we love you.
Yeah.
We love America.
No disrespect. I'm actually going to Ohio in a couple of weeks, but
hopefully they receive you.
I know. I love Cincinnati, but yeah, I love just being able to sort of view a really simple moment and try to find beauty in it. You know, I remember one of my buddies, he'd had a broken engagement and was just going through a really tough time, and he was telling us about it, and he's like, dude, I had no money. I had just broken off the engagement. I'm trying to sell the ring. No one wants to buy it. Like, and he's like, I'm just the lowest I've ever been. And he's like, I go to Wiener Schnitzel. He's like, I have enough money for like a corn dog and a soda. And he's like, I get my order in and they give it to me and there's 2 corn dogs. And he's like,
what again?
And he's like, oh no, I just ordered 1 or whatever. And they're like, oh, well, don't worry about it. It's on the house. And he's like, honestly, in that moment, that second corn dog was the best thing I had going for me. But he was like kind of serious, you know, but I love,
but kind of a God wink, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey,
and I know a lot of people hear that and they'll be like, okay, that's not God. That's just an extra corn dog. But who cares? It's like, it's the fact that you're looking for bits of joy.
Yeah.
You know, and when you're really going through stuff, joy can feel almost impossible.
Yeah.
And so you have to find bits of it to start with.
Yes.
You know, because, you know, when you're going through great periods of life, it's easy to find joy. When you're in Europe, when you're in a new relationship, you're falling in love, you're like, yeah, life is joyful. This is beautiful. But when you're in pain and anguish and life's not going the way you want, you have to like seek out little bits where you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if like what that would be like in a really dark period of your life if you started being like, I'm going to start looking for the things that bring me joy. I'm going to start noticing all the things that are good.
I started doing that during my last breakup because I was like, I am dead inside and I need to find joy somewhere, you know? And so I started looking on a really micro level. And it sounds silly, but I would be like, anything I did, you know, maybe I went to the bank and stood in line and drove home. I'd try to find joy, you know, I'd try to talk to the bank teller and have a fun little exchange. I'd try to, you know, see the beauty in the sky on the way to my car. Like I really had to, like, it felt like I had to really go back to basics and rediscover how to be a human again.
Yeah.
You know?
And those things take so much effort.
Yeah.
When you're not feeling up for it.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, but I am going to talk to this guy and have a happy conversation.
Yeah. But yeah, it was weird. It felt it felt like I had to learn how to be a human again, because a broken heart can be so disorienting to you existentially. You're like, do I even have a purpose? Was I a good person? Was I lovable? What's my problem? Like, you can go,
am I lovable?
Yeah. You can spiral pretty quickly.
You're also like, that took a long time to get to know somebody and get to a point of like
now I got
real connection. Now we got to start over.
Yeah.
How much time do we have?
Anytime we're in overtime.
We're like in overtime.
I love saying on a first date, "Are you down to have kids tomorrow?"
Yeah. Weed them out fast, man. Just let's get to the real.
It's not a big
nitty gritty.
It's not a big deal, but mommy needs to get cooking.
But mommy needs to get cooking. Oh,
tell me you've said
I'm gonna try this.
That sentence.
I haven't, but I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I really think it'd be telling.
I don't see how it could go poorly.
Like, have you noticed this in dating? I do feel like as you get older, you kind of just get to the nitty gritty of like, if we are to be, then like, here's the things.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's as much like trying to hide thing. It's like, this is how it is. So are we, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't.
That's what I feel like it's evolved to as you date later in life. Yeah,
yes and no. I feel like for me, I'm way more like open and vulnerable, just because.
Yeah.
I don't know. Life has broken me open and made me that way, but I don't know. I don't like to share too much too quick. Because I don't want to spook anybody. But I don't think my life is necessarily all that spooky.
Right.
But I just think it's about timing, you know?
Yes.
And so
there is also the saying, slow is fast with people.
Yeah. And you want people to kind of, in the initial stages, you want people to kind of want a little more. You want there to be a little intrigue and mystery, you know? And you can't assume that someone's in the same place as you are emotionally.
Right.
You know, just because you want to move 100 miles an hour doesn't mean they do. But if you really like each other and it's a good click, I think eventually you'll both move at the same speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is probably the thing.
Yeah.
Is you don't really, when it's working with someone, nobody's pulling anybody. Like, you're both showing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's like for you some red flags that aren't obvious? Like, obviously, you know, he's abusive.
And sometimes those aren't obvious.
Right.
Is the thing.
Yeah. He ran someone over on the way to dinner, like
didn't stop.
Yeah. But yeah, what are for you some things that maybe don't need to be red flags for everyone, but for you, you're just like, I can't do it.
Oh my gosh. That's a really hard question.
You know the answer though.
I do.
Yeah, you do.
I mean, does this count? Like, I'm thinking of how you treat the waiter is.
Oh yeah, that's big.
That's for me. Like, could be a red flag. How you treat the waiter is how they'll treat you.
Yeah. And you've waited before.
I have, and I believe everyone should wait.
Right.
Be a waitress for at least 1 year of their lives.
Yeah. I waited tables for like 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was me.
I was a professional. Yeah.
That's why he's so service oriented over here.
That's right.
Yeah, you learn so much waiting tables.
You learn how important it is to have a drink full.
Absolutely. And you understand that people get really mad about food.
Yeah.
They're hungry and their food isn't there, or it's not made right. They get upset.
You know what I learned? One of the greatest lessons I learned from waiting tables is that just like anything in life, there's all kinds of people and they all need food, right? And so I realized, like, when I had a table that to me was borderline sociopathic, I'm like, that's just how they are. They also need dinner.
Yeah.
You know?
We still need to feed the beast.
We need to feed the beast. And there's amazing, wonderful people, and they need dinner too.
Yeah.
And so I didn't take things personal because I was like,
that is the best advice for any server.
Yeah, I just think sometimes so many waiters would get so upset because they were mistreated or had a bad table. And I was like, those people were bad before they came in. You know what I mean?
Sure. Like, they still got to eat.
Yeah, they still got to eat.
Give the people their food.
But then they're gone and you don't have to worry about it anymore. So, yeah, I actually really enjoyed waiting. It was fun.
Yeah, there was some really fun aspects to it. Yeah. I had some interesting experiences because I waited in Nashville. And
it's a whole different experience as a woman, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had some really funny experiences. But I mean, I waited like Taylor Swift and Winona Judd.
Really? Wow.
And yeah, a bunch of like bigger artists out there. And so
did you tell Taylor
that was an interesting experience?
For me?
I did. It was like, look, I think you should marry somebody who has the same name as you.
Just as easy.
It's a very easy. My parents have the same name.
Do they really?
Yes.
What is
Kim
it?
and Kim.
That's crazy.
And it's not, my mom's not Kimberly, it's Kim.
Yeah. The Kims.
Hi, who do you want? Kim. I'm like, my mom or my dad?
That is, I would for sure just like enforce a nickname.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they call my mom Kimmy.
Yeah. I would call your dad Kimmy. That'd be great.
But they're divorced now, so I guess that doesn't work. Everybody, that doesn't work.
Okay.
Don't marry someone with the same name.
How was Taylor Swift? Was she a sweetheart?
She was great.
Yeah.
Like when I would say she was quite disinterested. Like I approached the table and she was with her mom. And this was in her country days.
Are you a big fan of her?
I like her.
Yeah.
I think she's a great
artist,
businesswoman.
Sure. Yeah.
An artist. Yeah. And I went to the Eras tour. Like, I mean, yeah, she's awesome. So I approached the table and I feel like she kind of was just like, just please don't notice who I am, you know? And so I was like, what can I get you? She's like, the barbecue chicken salad, no cilantro, no bacon. I'm like, oh, no cilantro, huh?
Interesting.
She's like,
TMZ.
Don't talk to me. Yeah. And then her mom was like more friendly, more outgoing. But here's the thing about Taylor Swift. She had like little girl after little girl approaching her. And she was so sweet. Like from what I saw, she just like took the time to talk to them and sign, you know, whatever they wanted. And then towards the end of the dinner, like I talked to her, or the end of the lunch, I talked to her and she was great. Yeah. So.
I mean, it's got to be so just
overwhelming.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
It's nonstop.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always say the what do I say?
Maybe you never say it.
Never mind. I can't remember. It'll come to me. The occupational hazard of what artists do is the fame.
Yeah.
That's the occupational hazard.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think, for me at least personally, like it's not the fame I just want, I think music is so powerful and healing and connecting people. And that's what I want to be a part of.
Yeah. Do you have any projects right now you're just so excited about?
So I actually am going to release a handful of songs.
Oh, fun.
And
because I noticed on your Spotify, we don't have a new song from you from a very long time.
Thank you for noticing.
Yeah. I'm a little disappointed.
Well, The King Will Come
is
we're coming out with Calm Me, which sounds so good. I'm very excited. So that's coming out really soon. And then I have a handful of songs. It'll be so fun. I love to collaborate. And so I've collaborated with Oba Bonner and we have some like electronic pop stuff that's going to come out. I would say most of my Ira stuff is indie pop folk. So that's kind of like a fun collaboration.
Yeah.
And then I also have a few songs with Jake Haas, which is more indie pop folk. And so, yeah, I'm excited for those.
Do you feel like your sound has evolved a lot over the years, or has it kind of been the same genre?
Oh, I feel like I've kind of stayed in the same like singer-songwriter indie pop folk feel.
Yeah.
So that's why these electronic songs will be fun. But I have also written country. I mean, I guess I should say the songs that I release are more in that line. Yeah. But I've written country songs. I've written electronic pop or, you know, hip hop or soul, or I've written a lot of different songs. But as an artist, I tend to lean that way. But I think that I'm moving into some new stuff.
Nice.
Which I'm excited
That's great.
about.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to rewind a tiny bit.
Okay.
I just love how you sort of like you just lean into gratitude with your life. And I wanted to ask you, because I think so many people struggle with gratitude because they're like, yeah, I get it, I should be grateful for my family and blah blah blah, but I'm just so sad and broken and focused on the things I don't have. What is your advice for sort of getting past that and being like, yeah, that's fine. You can also, you can be sad and you can mourn and you can grieve, but you can also see the light and you can see the exquisite in things.
Yeah, I think sometimes it takes time, and I think sometimes there's stages. Like, I want to be really careful in gratitude fixes everything, right? Because I do feel like people who are in that state are like, don't tell me to be grateful right now.
Right.
Like, this is hurting me.
Yeah,
and
it's
I'm
easier.
mourning.
It's easier after the fact.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I think there's purpose in the darkness. I think there's purpose in the mourning. And then, like we talked about before, like if you could possibly start seeing some of the joy and some of the light and some of the gifts, some of the things you do have, I think is helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you don't need to like discard the darkness.
No.
And you don't need to like say that it doesn't exist.
Yes.
You can acknowledge both. And I think maybe even when you're really in the thick of it, you can maybe sort of prep yourself and say, I don't think I can feel it right now, but I will be grateful for this.
Sure.
Yeah. And sort of plan for your gratitude.
Yeah. I don't know if this would work, but sometimes I feel like you could be like, I give myself this much time to grieve over this, and then we're getting over it.
Yeah.
And then we're done.
Right.
Like if you give yourself permission, I give myself permission to take this much time, and then we're moving on. I mean, I do feel like when you do lose loved ones, it's like a deep ache. It is a deep heart ache, like you're bleeding.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like it doesn't go away per se, but you do start finding joy in different ways. And then those times, like I think come less and less. And then hopefully, as you focus on just being the gratitude of getting to experience them in your life and having a relationship with them and the memories that you have. But I do still find myself being like, ooh, that hurts when I think about them so.
And that's just sort of the
moments of light.
Yeah, that's just sort of the beauty of life is you don't forget.
Yeah.
And I heard this thing the other day I really liked. This guy said, you're healed when the wave comes over you and it doesn't drown you anymore. But it's still a wave.
Oh, that is such a great way to put it.
It still crashes over you. It's still violent. It's still like can be scary and painful, but then it recedes and it doesn't drown you anymore, because when you're really in the middle of grieving and it's really raw, it just feels like you're drowning and it feels like, well, there's a wave, but it's going to kill me,
Yeah, it feels really hopeless.
Yeah. But I think it's
dark.
Yeah, I think it's fine to be like, you know what, certain things, whether it's a death or a loss, like the waves might hit me periodically for the rest of my life. And that's okay.
They might. Yeah, I do think that's kind of it. Like that you are going to continue to get hit. Or maybe there's some moments of like reprieve.
Yeah.
Like hopefully, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's no longer a storm, right? It's not a tsunami. It's just the occasional big wave that comes through and maybe you're wiped out for a couple days even.
Yeah.
But you don't, it's not fatal. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it is hopeful just in all of the loss that I felt right? Because we feel loss in death, and we feel loss in the ending of relationships, divorce. We feel loss in wanting and working for something that doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's in like our career life, or whether it's this picture we painted in our minds of what we imagined our lives to be, right? Like we can feel loss in all of these areas. And for me, like the light has always come. It's not forever. That grief and that loss like isn't forever.
Yeah.
And I think knowing that for me is really helpful.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, I love life. I'm so grateful to be alive and experiencing all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to live it to the fullest.
Yeah.
Because then death can't take anything from me. If I've like said all what I want to say and lived all that I want to live, and been just so present and so in it and involved, experiencing all of it.
What are some things you do to really remain present, especially if you feel like you're starting to not be very present? How do you kind of get yourself back? Especially with like one of these contraptions hanging around.
Oh, you just like start dancing.
Okay.
Just like turn on that song.
Okay. That's not my approach.
Start getting jiggy with it. I mean, I feel like it's probably people that pull me back into reality.
Yeah.
Like life.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like what works for you? Are you talking about if you get lost in like your electronics or
that, or just sometimes you're just going through life and you feel like I'm just not being present. I'm not feeling things.
Yeah.
I'm just on autopilot.
Yeah.
Because that's when I hate that feeling.
Totally. I think like what you just said, recognizing that you're like, oh, I don't like this.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like coming to a realization that you are like, and not present, and then being able to whatever, like engage with someone or experience nature or whatever it is.
Yeah. I mean, I think the other night I was driving home from something and I was like, how did I get here?
You were on autopilot. Like, what happened?
No recollection of making any turns. Like,
I'm so glad you made it there.
Me too.
Safely.
Me too. And I was well rested. I don't know. I was just zoned out. And listen, that happens to everyone when they're driving sometimes. But I don't want to be zoned out in life.
No.
I want to be like, especially with people. I don't want to be in a room with people and be zoned out and feel like on my way home, I wasn't really there with them.
Yeah.
I wasn't really present. I didn't really contribute because my mind was off somewhere else,
Yeah. I think that's great, because I don't think you need to like feel so guilty and bad about it, but like, oh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
And I want to do it different next time.
Right.
Like, I don't want to be like that. Right. It's just like such an awareness. But we can I feel like what you're talking about is numbing out. Like, I think we can just numb out. And again, like when you are going through grief, when you've lost a loved one, I have seen people handle it both ways. I've seen people handle it in like, thank you for teaching me about how life is short and how I can feel so grateful that I'm alive another day and just experiencing this life. And, or on the other side of things, I've seen people stop living too.
Yeah.
Just stop living.
It's gross. Yeah.
But like, I feel that tug, right? In a mourning situation, but it's like, pick your heart. It's hard to maybe pull out a little and be like, get clarity. And I like come to a place of, let this teach me about how to live life fully. And it's also hard to stop living. Like, they both are hard.
Yeah. Yeah. So you might as well do the one that's not self-destructive.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's hard to do. So everybody, I love you, and no judgment wherever you are It's okay.
Yeah.
This is just how I've experienced things and what's helped me.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, just to wrap it up, I like to ask you if you have any questions for me. Yeah.
I do.
Okay, good. You're like, I've been waiting.
I've been waiting for this. How the tables have turned.
Yes.
Oh, is this okay?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you feel like has been on your mind lately? Like, is there something you've been struggling with, or is there something you've been excited about, or?
That's tough because I always feel like there's like 3 or 4 themes that rattle around my brain, you know?
Like constantly or different ones? They're always rotating.
They're rotating. Some stay in for a while and are out of rotation and then they come back in. Let's see. I really have just been so focused and like entrenched in growing the podcast and just working on just growing my brand. And I started doing like online coaching and
really? That's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I've just been all in and it's been really exciting and fun, and I feel really like within my purpose, and that's really exciting.
He's working in his flame.
That's right. Not terminology I would use, but happy to be in a flame. And it's made me realize that it's really hard for me to consistently be sad when I'm fully in my purpose. Like little things will make me sad. Little moments will remind me, oh, you're deeply alone, right? But because I'm just so in my purpose, I'm so fulfilled and I feel so much joy. Yeah. And so I can't stay down. And that's really enlightening for me to know, that no matter what's happening, if I can kind of come back and focus on my purpose, it's pretty hard to be depressed, Oh,
yeah, I resonate with that for sure.
What else? That's such a good question. I'm not confident that I even know what I'm thinking at times.
Can I just compliment you though on
please.
Like when you are building a brand and building something in general, like it just speaks a lot to you about you of the consistency, because you do have to be consistent in like creating content and so awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, kudos to you. Cheers.
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 Yeah, it's that's another thing I've learned. It's like I can make and will continue to make mistakes all the time with whether it's podcasting or social media or whatever, but when you're consistent, it just sort of makes up for a multitude of sins, because you're just constantly evolving and learning, and and the mistakes don't really matter. They're just part of it.
Oh, thank you for reminding me of that.
Yeah.
Because I think you do want something to be so good and so perfect, it like paralyzes you to not be releasing and doing the thing.
Yeah.
That's a great reminder. Anything else you want to share on that? I have another question, but
no, hit me.
Okay, so this is what, episode 138?
132.
132?
Yeah.
In all of the interviews that you've done, like, was there any consistent themes that people are talking about and sharing about or struggling with, or anything come to mind as to like what you've mostly seen or heard?
That's tough because I kind of steer things the way I want, like what I'm interested in, and I have guests on that I think will be likewise interested.
Yeah.
So, and it is interesting because those themes I think have sort of evolved organically. Like I didn't start the podcast even thinking I would focus on relationships or love or the things I kind of have gravitated towards. Right. And I'll have people ask me all the time, like, they'll be like, what inspired you to start the podcast? Or what was it that happened that made you do this? And I'm like, nothing really. I just wanted to do it.
Yeah. So
like,
you didn't have in your mind at the beginning, like, I want this to be about relationships and love. You just started talking to people and interviewing people.
Yeah. And I realized this is what I care about.
Yeah.
And it's funny. Somebody asked me the other day, like, well, what's going to happen with your podcast when you get married? Like, what are you going to talk about? And I'm like, same things, like it'll just,
you're like, it's going to get juicier.
It's going to get juicy. Wife's going to have to get on board.
Wife's going to really have to be okay.
But yeah, I just am so, and it's funny that people even ask that because I talk to single people and I talk to married people and I talk to divorced people and I talk to people that have hardly ever been in relationships. And I'm just interested in relationships and love. And I think you can tie basically everything back to love.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what else are we talking about? We're talking about like business. Who cares? I don't care.
It's all love.
It's all love, but I think maybe something that I didn't realize or hadn't really settled into my brain was that everybody is really, really nuanced and complicated. And everybody has some dormant pain somewhere, even if life is really good and they're in a good season, like, especially the older you get, there's just things that happen and things that accumulate emotionally, and everyone just has pain, and that's fine. And some people deal with it better than others, and some people admit it more than others, but everyone has stuff, and, a mentor of mine told me one time, he's like, if you're the kind of person that says like, oh, I'm always happy, I'm always a 9 out of 10, I'm always a 10 out of 10. He's like, that kind of person should learn some empathy, because even if your life is just going swimmingly, I'm sure you know somebody that's struggling, and I'm sure you know somebody that's in deep, deep pain. And I know you know somebody that recently lost somebody. And so if you're really empathetic and you're trying to feel everything, like, life can be really heavy and really painful. And so it doesn't mean you need to be like, woe is me, and you need to be like dreary. But yeah, I just think the podcast has helped me realize that everybody, has had a really hard life, because life is hard.
Yeah.
And there, I don't know, there's something kind of beautiful about it.
Like, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
Like I said before, like, the feeling of loss can be the loss of what you thought your life would be, like the loss of a death, the loss of, a divorce, and all of that's pain.
Yeah.
All of that's loss, and we're just all in it together.
Yeah.
We're all experiencing this beautiful, complicated, beautiful life. And the gift of, for me, like the gift of all those experiences is the empathy.
Anything else for me? Your last chance.
Anything else you'd like to add?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Well, thanks so much for coming on.